Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wind Down Wednesdays. I'm your host, Paula Taylor, and this is episode 63. So I have a brief announcement about next week's show. Next week's show is actually going to be pre-recorded. It's only the second time in 64 episodes that I'll be doing that. I'm actually going to be taking a few days off, and we're going to talk a little bit more about taking a break tonight. That's one of the things we're going to talk about. And I really hope you will check it out. I'm really excited. I've already pre-recorded it. And I took a little bit of a risk that I was afraid to do live. I gave myself the safety net of pre-recording. And so what I did for this episode was that I pulled a tarot card and did a collective reading. And it was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I've actually been thinking about making it kind of a regular practice. So I would love to get your feedback about that. I was a little bit nervous to do it live because I thought, what if I draw this card and then I completely go blank and I got a little bit in my head about it. But it's a really great show. I talk about my interest in tarot, where that came from, how I use tarot. And then interestingly, the card I drew really kind of goes with the meditation, which I had decided ahead of time. We're going to do a very excellent inner child meditation. And it's a meditation that I did myself that just was so powerful and loving. And I really wanted to share it with you all. So I hope that you will be here next week with me, even though I won't be here live. And we're going to talk about a little bit about taking a break tonight. So first of all, happy fall or autumn equinox if you are in this hemisphere. It is the first day of fall. We had a full moon yesterday. There's kind of a lot going on in the astrology world. And so I thought it would be a really good opportunity to talk about harvesting. And it really kind of ties into the fact that I'm going to be taking a break, and it just seemed really appropriate. So we spend a lot of time working. In general, full stop. On this show, we spend a lot of time working spiritually. And so we plant seeds. We plant seeds of intention, and then we cultivate those seeds. You know, we water our plants. All of this is that spiritual work that we do every week. We have to turn the earth before we do that, which is sometimes stirring up that old energy that we need to release before we can plant new seeds of intention. And then we do a lot of weeding. And I talk about excavation, and that's kind of what I mean by weeding. We do a lot of this pretty heavy duty work on this show. And if you're on a spiritual path, you probably do a lot of it in your own life, separate from this practice. And I say a lot of times, this is work. That's something that I say on this show a lot. This is work. And so the result of this work, all of this work we do, just like when you plant something in the ground and then you tend to it lovingly and you get the weeds out so it has room to grow and expand and blossom, then you're left with this bounty, with this harvest. And we've talked in the last few weeks about integration, or what I called leveling up. And that's kind of what I mean by harvest or by bounty. So the result of the work we do is this harvest, this integration, this leveling up process. And I want to be clear, because we're going to celebrate harvest tonight, but you don't have to be currently leveling up. You don't have to be currently in integration to celebrate your harvest. I'm going to talk about my harvest, and it's actually something that I kind of harvested a few months ago, or over the last few months. And then I realized I never stopped to celebrate it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But in terms of where you are in your life right now, you can celebrate at any point on this journey. You can celebrate if you harvested early, if you harvested months ago. You can celebrate not quite being ready to harvest something. You can celebrate being in that horrible weeding process where you're like, oh, there's bugs on me and this is not going well. Because it's all part of this growth process. It's all part of this cycle. And it's really important to take some time to celebrate, to take some time off sometimes. So we're celebrating that this work bears results. We're celebrating this bounty. And I want to give an example, and you've heard me, if you've watched the show before, you've heard me talk about this on and off for months now, because this is the work, this is the cultivation that I've been doing for this year. So I was working on changing a core belief, and my core belief, this fear-based belief that I had, was that my worth was tied to my physical body, specifically to the appearance of my physical body. And I did a lot of work to change that belief. There was a lot of turning of the earth. There was a lot of planting of seeds of new intention. There was a lot of watering. There was a lot of gathering of resources, of learning different ways to look at this, and letting go of this thing that had been indoctrinated in me since birth, essentially, that's indoctrinated in most of us, that our worth is tied to our body in some way. And what I realized is I sort of plunged right into like planting my next crop, to go with this metaphor, without taking really any time to absorb the bounty that I had created. I changed a huge belief, and it's still a work in progress. I say I changed. I mean, things still come up. I'm still dealing with it, but I'm really on the other side of it. And instead of stopping and like taking a moment to really celebrate, I mean, that's kind of what a harvest celebration was. When we were an early agrarian society, everything kind of revolved around the crops and having enough food for the winter. So there was this huge celebration when the harvest came, because it was, first of all, it was like, man, we worked our butts off to get this food so that we can survive the winter. And we're celebrating that, and we're letting off steam, and we're taking a night off from this heavy toil that we've been doing. And so I realized I hadn't really done that. I sort of moved right into the next thing, and that's definitely my MO, but that's everybody's MO. And so that's what I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit more tonight. So we do this constantly, and this is another one of those indoctrinated core beliefs that almost every single person I know has, which is this idea that your worth is also tied to your production. Your worth is tied to how much you do. You have to earn your worth by constantly working. And I'm not just talking about constantly working in a job where you make money. I mean, that's part of it. Constantly working within your family, giving your kids the best life possible. Constantly working on yourself, as we do on this show. We are working all the time. And first of all, that is exhausting, and never taking a break can literally kill you. It will start that stress process in your body that causes so many diseases, all this inflammation that causes things like heart disease, and as a precursor for things like cancer, or, kind of predisposes you to those kinds of things. Not taking a break, not knowing how to relax, is physically stressful on the body. That's one kind of aspect of this. But the other aspect is something that I've talked about before when I've talked about yoga practice, and I've talked about at the end of a yoga practice, the last pose in 99% of different yoga practices in any yogic tradition is Shavasana, which is also called corpse pose. And that's where you just lie down on the ground. And the purpose of Shavasana, as I've mentioned before, is to absorb the work that you've done in that yogic class. So when we are doing yoga, when we are doing exercise of any kind, especially intentionally, we're moving energy. We're shifting patterns of holding tension in the body. We're building strength. And taking a few minutes at the end of a practice to absorb that, to let the body release and relax. First of all, it allows some of that tension we build up while we're physically working to release. So that's good for the body. But it also allows us to kind of settle into this new energetic pattern. And we have a much higher likelihood of carrying that forward into the rest of our day if we take that time to absorb. It used to drive me nuts when I went to a lot of yoga practices in person, that people never wanted to be in Shavasana. They'd be fidgeting around. They'd be like secretly looking at their phone. The minute the teacher said it was time, they'd jump up and run out. And it was like, to me, that was my favorite part of the practice. Not just because I was tired and I wanted to lay down, although sometimes that was it, depending on the practice. But that feeling of accomplishment, that feeling of noticing the shift. I might have come into the practice in high stress and even angry and, just like, ugh, straight from my day job, just like, this day was terrible. Ugh. And at the end of the yoga practice, invariably, at the end of any yoga practice I did, there was a shift. There was more relaxation. There was more space for expansion. There was more clarity in my energetic field. And so it's really important that we have to learn how to relax. Sometimes we have to learn how to celebrate. We have to learn how to absorb our work. And I would say it's not even necessarily a process of learning. It's kind of a process of relearning. It's part of that excavation. Because if you look at really small children, they absolutely know how to celebrate. They absolutely know how to be in joy, and they absolutely know how to rest. I mean, there's a point at which, they don't want to go down for their nap or whatever, but if you watch, and puppies are the same way. We have a picture of my puppy, or my old dog now, he's 15 now, but as a puppy, we have a picture of him where he fell asleep with like some little cookies right in front of his mouth because he was so tired he couldn't even eat his cookies. So we've lost that kind of flow, that spontaneity that comes when we work for a while and then we rest and we celebrate. There's such an element of joy to life if we look for it. We did that 21 days of sweetness practice. And that's one of the other things I wanted to say. I'm like not anywhere on my notes tonight, but that's okay. I pulled a card right before this and it said stay in flow. So that's what we're doing. So one of the other things I did want to mention is this idea that we have obligations. Absolutely, we have obligations. And there are things that we have to do. There are things we have to do in a timely fashion. We have to go to work if we want to earn money. We have to pay our bills if we want to have the lights stay on and stuff like that. But we've also got to figure out how to do that with some sort of joy. And I was thinking about all the memes. There's a lot of memes out there about adulting. Adulting is hard. Adulting is just paying bills until you die. Adulting is having a never-ending to-do list. That's in my notes somewhere. My husband and I joke about. We have a never-ending to-do list. And I've started, when I check something off my to-do list, I take a minute now and I take a couple breaths and I congratulate myself because I know that list is never getting any shorter because I'm always going to keep adding stuff to it. That is part of life. But allowing ourselves to shift into this perspective of finding pleasure in things, of finding the sweetness in things. I don't really want to sit down and pay all my bills, but I sure am grateful that I'm able to do that. I sure am grateful that I have electricity. So perspective goes a long way when we're dealing with those things that we have to do, as well as giving ourselves time to take a break, giving ourselves time to absorb the work that we do and to celebrate the work that we do. So you deserve a break. You deserve to rest. You deserve to relax in whatever way that comes to you. And that may be different. I may find a yoga practice relaxing and that might sound like the most stressful thing to you. You might find working around the house relaxing and that makes me want to stab a fork in my eye. So relaxation really comes down to the feeling in your body, letting go of that stress, allowing yourself to let some tension go, allowing yourself to smile. That's that happens a lot in a yoga practice. They put you in this really hard pose and then they say, and add smile asana. And sometimes it's kind of said jokingly, but it's true. When you smile, it lightens your energy up. So learning how to do the things that we need to do with some level of pleasure, and then relearning that it's okay to take a break, that you do not have to constantly work every single day. You don't have to answer every single text that comes as soon as it comes in. You don't have to answer every single email and never stop. You have the right to say, I am going to take a few days off or a few hours off or a few minutes off, whatever you can get, wherever you can get it. So this is actually part of our work. Taking time off is part of our work. Stepping away from our work is actually part of our work. And sometimes you'll find if you take a few days off, you get so much more clarity. You open up some space for yourself, and then taking time to absorb the work. Sometimes taking time off is that kind of Shavasana feeling. It's allowing this integration to happen, because we are moving serious energy when we work on ourselves, whether it's mentally and emotionally, physically. All of those things have this physical energetic component. So when you're working on yourself, you're doing some heavy lifting. And so allowing yourself to rest, there's a reason they tell you to rest after you do strength training. You're not supposed to do strength training 7 days in a row. You're supposed to take days off. And that's so your muscles can repair and so your muscles can grow. And that applies to our spiritual work as well. So as I mentioned, your harvest does not have to be this huge, dramatic bounty. It doesn't have to be a big, amazing thing. Your harvest this year might just be that you survived, that you made it through the last 2 years, and a lot of people haven't. So if that's your bounty, that is absolutely your bounty, and celebrate that. Maybe your bounty is just that you tried out this practice. Maybe this is your very first Wind Down Wednesday. You've never listened to one. And that's your bounty, stepping into this work for the very first time. Maybe your bounty is that you've been here every week this year, or you've been here every other week, or you've been here 5 times and you've done this work. Celebrate that. Celebrate any time you sit down for yourself. That is a bounty to be celebrated. Anytime you say no when you really mean to say no instead of yes, that is a bounty. That is a harvest to be celebrated. And that's what we're going to do tonight in our meditation. And I want to say, I know the example I gave was a pretty big, dramatic example. But first of all, this is something I worked on all year long. And as I mentioned last week, I've been doing this work for a long time. I've been doing this work for over 25 years. So just like a very experienced farmer might know what to do to tweak their crops so that they get a bigger crop, and someone who's never farmed before is like, oh, I have 1 year of corn and you have this whole field and it's so amazing. Don't let that discourage you. Let that encourage you. Look at the huge bounty that someone else has and say, I can get there, and you will get there. And letting go of comparison, that has been such a huge part of my journey, of this idea of comparing my body to others, comparing my work to others. It is exhausting, and that alone will burn you out. So letting go of that and just celebrating what feels like a harvest to you. Everything that you are doing the best that you can, and that deserves to be celebrated. Your worth is inherent. You don't have to earn your worth. You don't have to look a certain way to be worthy. You are divine and worthy, no matter how you look, no matter how your body functions or looks. You don't have to work to earn worth. I'm talking about doing this spiritual work and this excavation. You could never do that another day in your life, and you are still worthy. You are still divine. You might not see it as much. That's one of the reasons we do the work. But we don't do the work to earn our worth, because we are worthy and we are divine. So the last thing I want to say, I wrote this on the side and it's facing the wrong way, and I had to kind of turn my head to read it. It's not a bounty until you recognize it. And that's kind of one of the things that I realized about myself. I had done this work and I recognized it. But until I started thinking about this idea of harvest and this idea that I'm taking some time off this next week to relax, to absorb, to step away a little bit, all of a sudden I was like, man, I harvested the most amazing thing this year. It's going to make me tear up. It's happening every week now. I harvested a complete shift in my relationship with myself and with the world around me. And until I stopped for a minute and recognized that, it didn't seem like the big deal that it is. So that's another reason to stop and celebrate. And again, it doesn't have to be some big accomplishment. It doesn't have to be some big core belief changing like it was for me. That just happened to be my work this year. Whatever you feel like celebrating, Notice it. Notice the bounty. Again, maybe you're just noticing that you made it through this year. Maybe you're just noticing that you didn't murder your children this year when you were trying to homeschool them. Maybe you're just celebrating the fact that you have a place to live, or that you have a roof over your head and lights and food. Whatever it is, celebrate it with joy and allow yourself to receive. You are worthy of receiving. You don't have to earn that worth. So I don't really know what we're doing for the meditation tonight. I know it's going to be a good one, and I have a little bit of an idea. We're going to celebrate. We're going to relax. We're going to absorb. We're not going to do any heavy duty work. We're not going to get into any kind of traumas. We've done that. We'll do that again, but that is not what tonight is about. Tonight is just about really coming into the present, because that is where celebration happens. Celebration happens when you're fully in the present moment. And sometimes you're looking back and, I'm looking back at this change, but what I'm celebrating is who I am in the present. I'm letting go of who I was in the past. I'm not looking at who I'm going to be tomorrow. I'm celebrating who I am right now. I'm celebrating the expansiveness and the relaxation that I'm going to bring in my body right now through this meditation. So I often tell you to sit up for meditation, and I may say this again right before we start, but tonight I encourage you to lie down, get cozy, find yourself a comfy blanket, put your pajamas on, lie down on the couch, and if you fall asleep, then that's what your body needed. So don't worry about staying alert for this. Really let yourself receive. Let the words just flow through you. Don't get too caught up in the directions I'm giving, even if I'm giving visualizations and that's not coming to you. Don't get caught up in that. Be gentle with that. If I'm directing you to breathe in a certain way and that doesn't feel good to you, or it feels like you're too much in your head, the goal of this meditation is to just relax and receive and absorb this beautiful harvest, this beautiful bounty that we have built together over 63 weeks now. That's a long time. That's a lot of work. We deserve a bountiful harvest. We deserve some relaxation and some absorption and some rest. So let's meditate together. So as I said, get really comfortable tonight. Lie down, wrap yourself up in a blanket, get your PJs on. Allow yourself to really get present in your body, to get comfortable in your body. If you're wearing an item of clothing that's uncomfortable, take it off if you can. Maybe not if you're in public, but if you're at home, just get really cozy and comfy. Lie down in your bed or on the couch or the floor. Or if you'd like to sit, really use something to prop yourself up tonight. Really get very relaxed. And again, if you fall asleep during this meditation, just continue to absorb. Sometimes absorbing happens best when our conscious mind is out of the way, when our ego takes its little vacation while we're sleeping. So as you get comfortable, allow yourself to be supported by the ground or whatever surface it is that you're lying or sitting on. Take a few really nice deep oxytocin breaths, breathing in through the nose and then sighing that out with an audible ha sound. As you sigh these breaths out, feel the tension melting out of your body. Allow yourself to really be supported by the earth here. Whatever part of you is contacting a surface, whether it's the ground or something that you're sitting or lying on, just let yourself melt into that surface. Take a nice deep breath directly into any areas of tension that you're noticing in the body and sigh that tension out and down into the earth where it will be recycled for the highest good. Really let the earth support you here. This harvest comes from this earthly energy, our physical harvest, the food that we eat, but our emotional and spiritual harvest comes out of this earthly energy. We get supported by this dark, rich, earthy energy. Let yourself sink into that energy now. And then if you're familiar with your energetic sanctuary, bring that to you now. If you're not, just imagine that you're in the most beautiful, the safest space you could possibly imagine. This is your special sanctuary. Nothing can harm you in this space. Nothing can enter this space without your permission. And tonight I encourage you to find the most comfy, cozy spot in your sanctuary. Perhaps you're sitting next to a roaring fire, in or outside. Maybe you're in a mountain lodge or on a beach. Maybe you're drinking a warm mug of whatever feels good to you. Let yourself feel really cozy, really calm here, letting go of any remaining tension in the body as you recognize how safe you are. Begin to feel the heat of that fire and let yourself absorb that warming energy, that supportive energy. Maybe you're at a celebration and there are people dancing around you. Maybe you're experiencing some much needed solitude. Let your intuition guide you into this scene here. Whatever it is, let yourself remain very cozy and supported. Continue to breathe that tension out of your body. As thoughts come up, and they will, just let them go. You can imagine them drifting across the sky like clouds. Can't grab onto the clouds, they just float by as you continue to relax and melt into this safe space. And whatever form this celebration is taking for you, really allow yourself to experience it here. Smell the smells, hear the sounds. Notice what you see. Maybe there are some loved ones or guides here to support you, to celebrate with you. Maybe you're meeting someone new in this space. Maybe you're inviting in a new guide or new loved one. Perhaps your entire ancestral lineage is here, supporting you with love. And again, perhaps you're just seeking solitude and the warmth of this fire, the coziness of this supportive, safe space. Just let yourself be where you need to be. Don't question it. Don't think too much about it. Just be in this beautiful space. Notice what the world looks like around you in this sanctuary. Notice how it smells. Notice how it sounds. Maybe it's just blissfully silent. Maybe you're hearing running water or waves on a beach. Maybe you're hearing the wind through the trees or some relaxing music. Just let yourself absorb all of this information, this intuitive information that's coming in tonight in whatever form it's coming. Is this absorption? Is this harvest? Receive this bounty. Perhaps you're eating a beautiful meal that someone has lovingly prepared for you. Whatever comes to you here is what you need for support, for absorption. Let yourself really relax here. Allow yourself to receive. Let go of that need to produce, to give, to be active, and just be receptive and passive here for a few moments. You're so safe in this space. It's safe to open up and absorb and receive this beautiful energy, this loving energy, this warm, earthy harvest energy, the earth celebrating your presence here. and feeling your love for the earth as well. Allowing yourself to stay in this scene, bringing anything that calls you into this space. Perhaps you're called to leave a gift for the earth here in gratitude for your bounty. Maybe you'd like to be with a loved one or a guide. Maybe you're receiving a message from a loved one or a guide here. Just stay really open and receptive and let go of that urge to do. Let go of that need to control and just receive here. Fully relaxed here, fully supported, absorbing these beautiful vibrations, letting yourself be loved, letting yourself be cherished, letting yourself be celebrated just for being you. No need to do, to perform, to appear. Your worth is tied to your divinity. It's part of who you are. There's no need to make any effort to be anything more than who you are. Allow this divine energy to permeate every single cell, every atom of your body. Let it come fully into your heart space and really allow yourself to feel this in your body. You are worthy. You are loved. There's no need to work to earn your worth. That worth is inherent. That divinity is inherent. That beautiful light of your soul is all there is and is all you need. That divine connection that flows through you even when you're not aware of it. That love that is your birthright. Allow it to melt away any remaining resistance to this idea that you are not worthy. Let go of that feeling that you're not worthy. Let go of that resistance to the idea that you are worthy, and feel it in your body. Feel it in your mind. Feel it in your heart. Absorb this knowledge in all cells of your body. You are worthy. You are loved. You are a beautiful, divine being of light. Let go of any fears that you've been holding on to. Feel that space within you open up and absorb this message again. You are worthy. You are loved. You are light. Let that beautiful light flow through you now. Staying cozy, staying safe in your sanctuary, and allowing that beautiful divine light to flow in through the top of your head, melting away any tension as it flows into your jaw and your face. Melting away any fear as it flows into your throat and your chest. Melting away tension as it flows through your shoulders and down your arms and into your hands. Melting away any fear as it flows into your throat and into your chest. Melting away any resistance as it flows into your belly and your pelvis. Melting away any fear as it flows into your belly and your pelvis. Melting away any tension as it flows into your low back and your pelvis. Allowing this beautiful divine light, this unconditional love to flow now into the legs, melting away any tension as it flows down the thighs. Melting away any fear as it flows through the knees, melting away any resistance as it flows down the lower legs and into the feet. Beautiful divine light meeting that dark, rich support of the earth. That beautiful harvest, that bounty that you have cultivated just by being you. Just by existing. You are deserving of bounty, of love. As you're ready, very, very slowly, staying relaxed, staying calm, knowing that you're still safe, begin to draw yourself back into your mind, into this moment, into the space that your physical body is in. You can allow your sanctuary to remain with you for the rest of the evening, or gently let it go. But keep this feeling of relaxation. Allow yourself to continue to absorb this love, this bounty as you move back into your evening and the rest of your week. Very, very slowly, begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Perhaps move your head and neck around. Allowing yourself to very slowly come back into this room. Come back into your conscious mind. And affirm with me out loud, I am fully present in my body. I am fully present in my body, and I deserve bounty. I am fully present in my body and I deserve rest. Sadnam. The truth of your identity is that you are a divine being. Full stop. Your worth is inherent. Full stop. Take one nice deep breath in whatever way feels good to you. And as you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Thank you for celebrating your harvest, your bounty, through allowing yourself to relax and receive. It's such a beautiful gift, and I'm so grateful to share it with you. Have a beautiful rest of your evening, a bountiful rest of your week, and I will see you next week for Wind Down Wednesday.